We've got less than a week. That's right, less than a week to the 2018 NFL Draft. Oh, goody goody. So this is my second to last mock draft. As promised, it's a 3-round edition. You can check out all 100 picks from those 3 rounds in the description box down below. And as the title suggests to you, let's get nuts. Because we've reached that awkward point of the draft cycle where most of the major decisions have been made. Visits have happened, all the workouts, the pro days, combine, all the film study, it's all done. Teams have now been stacking their boards, ranking their boards, playing out different scenarios, what have you. And I always feel like this time of year, right before the draft, within that last week, it is really hard to see through the clouds because there's so much smoke that comes up. And even if you feel like you have a pretty good idea of how this may potentially go, the simple truth of the matter is, with as much smoke as gets put out there, it can really kind of bring you down from your confidence level of feeling like, I know this and this and this is going to happen. And the reality is, who knows what the hell is going to happen come this upcoming weekend. So I decided for this second to last mock draft, because this one doesn't matter as much, let's go balls to the walls and let's get nuts with freaking trades and all types of crazy crap type of happening. You'll start off with number 1 and you'll say, holy crap, the Browns would trade out of the number 1 overall pick and let the Bills get Josh Allen? I'm playing devil's advocate here. The Browns having the number 1 overall pick. There have been a lot of reports out there that they really love Josh Allen. That didn't get out by accident. That got out because the Cleveland Browns ultimately wanted it to get out. Because I feel they could believe that Buffalo is infatuated with Josh Allen. And Buffalo has a massive store of draft pick capital. And it would seem only fitting for the Cleveland Browns to punt after an 0-16 season on taking a quarterback with the number 1 overall pick in order to get additional picks in future years. Would you really put that past the Browns? And also when you look at it from the Bills' standpoint, whatever quarterback they want in this draft, they need to do whatever it takes to get. Again, whatever quarterback they want, they need to do whatever it takes to get. Because if you say, well, you give up all of these picks, when you play the percentages and the odds, a good number of those picks aren't going to fully work out any damn ways. So if you talk about giving up a total of 5 or maybe 6 picks, maybe 3 to 4 of them actually become solid NFL players, maybe 2 of them become stars, is that worth trading for the chance to get the guy you feel like could be your franchise dude for 15 years at the quarterback position? Beyond question. And if you don't think so, you're a clown. So there is that chance that all this Josh Allen talk has really been about trying to get Buffalo to trade up to number 1. So in this case, I said, hell with it. Let's see what happens if that does. Buffalo takes Josh Allen number 1 and gives up a crap ton of picks. So now the Giants are sitting there at 2. A lot of reports coming out about they want Saquon Barkley. Some belief that if there was a quarterback they would really want in this draft, it would be Sam Darnold. Maybe there's a part of the Browns that prefers Sam Darnold. Well, the only way to ensure that you would get Sam Darnold at that point, since you punted on taking one at number 1, is to trade up from 4 to 2 with the Giants and make sure you get your hands on Sam Darnold. Because I think everybody feels very comfortable that Baker Mayfield is going number 3 to the Jets. So if you want Darnold and the Bills traded up to 1, the only way you can ensure you get Darnold is to go up to number 2, which is what I have the Browns doing. And they would have plenty of draft pick capital to be able to make that type of deal, not really bat an eye. And ultimately, the benefit here for the Giants is if they're truly invested in Eli Manning the next several years, and maybe they believe long-term in Davis Webb, and more so they truly aren't impressed with any of these quarterbacks, then take the guy that you love at number 2, but take him at number 4 instead. You save a little bit of salary cap space, and you get some additional draft pick capital. That would be a skillful navigation and negotiation of the top of the draft by General Manager Dave Gettleman. To sit there at number 2, to take a running back in a class that is deep at the running back position is foolish. And frankly, Saquon Barkley is not quite the prospect that Ezekiel Elliott was 2 years ago, and Zeke went 4th overall. Now asking Barkley to go number 2 might be a bit of a stretch, especially again with the depth at the position. especially looking at the circumstances situation. The reality is the Giants are in a prime spot to pick a quarterback. They need to act as such. You either take one or you trade down. There is no other option up for conversation here. And if you're the Giants fans, you get some additional picks and you still get your dude that you have the hard on for in Saquon Barkley. Again, it's a win-win situation. And then I've got the Browns trading up to 5 for Bradley Chubb, because at that point in time, I know the Broncos put it out through Adam Schefter because they meant it, that the 5th pick was up for sale. But now you've already had 3 quarterbacks go. Teams will not feel as much of an urgency, perhaps, to trade up to get Josh Rosen. As a result, the Broncos are kind of sitting there in no man's land. The next guys on the board would be like Bradley Chubb and Quenton Nelson, and does Chubb really fit what they do, and are they really committed to taking a guard 5th overall? Well, the Broncos can then help themselves by moving back down as the Browns move up to number 5 to take Bradley Chubb. And all of a sudden, you're talking about the Browns with Sam Darnold, Bradley Chubb. Instead of taking him at 1 and 4, you got him at 2 and 5, and you got some additional picks out of it. That would be a skillful negotiation of the draft, if not a slightly cowardly one. And then I've got them trading back up again into the tail end portion of round 1 to get a 3rd first-round pick for a 2nd year in a row. And I know some people I've seen talk about the Browns with all these first-round picks and these marquee picks, talk about in 3, 4, 5 years they could run into some real salary cap space if these guys all work out. Well, number 1, it's the Browns, so who says any of them work out? Number 2, that seems like a really good problem to have. Number 3, they're coming off of an 0-16 season. Frankly, who gives a crap about 3, 4, 5 years down the road? You need talent, you need impact players, and you need them now. You worry about those future salary cap ramifications as these rookies and young players come up on their second deals in 3, 4, 5 years when you get closer to that moment. Right now, who gives a crap? You take those swings and you take them. But the Browns getting Bradley Chubb, pairing him with Myles Garrett, the Browns getting Sam Darnold, I imagine a lot of Cleveland Browns fans will be really, really happy with that, especially with the deal from 1 to 12 with Buffalo, giving them a bunch of additional draft pick currency. Then at 6, there's Indianapolis, who reports are coming out. They really like Roquan Smith, and he makes a lot of sense for them. The Chicago Bears, I feel like with Notre Dame's offensive line coach now in the fold for them as their O-line coach, Quenton Nelson has to be the pick for them. Like where the Bears are sitting, I don't know that he gets there to 8. I could pray and hope to God, but I'm not believing it. And knowing Ryan Pace's history, he traded up from 11 to 9 to get Leonard Floyd. He moved up from 3 to 2 to get Trubisky. While it would be a little more challenging this time without that 3rd round pick that was surrendered last year in the Trubisky deal, I could see the Bears wanting to roll the dice and go up from 8 to 6 to make sure that they got their dude. And I would 100% support the decision to go get that dude. And that dude for them in this draft is Quenton Nelson. It almost feels like, even though I would love a Tremaine Edmunds, and there are a couple other guys I feel would be great for them, and especially if you explore the thought of trading down, that's all nice, well and good. But it almost feels like for Chicago, it's Quenton Nelson or bust, Quenton Nelson no matter what. Yeah, we're talking about a left guard, but he's that type of left guard. Which leaves the Bucs at 7. I still feel like Derwin James is a logical option for them. With Chubb off the board, Nelson off the board, I don't know that Denzel Ward is truly a top 10 talent in this draft. I don't think Minkah Fitzpatrick is a top 10 talent in this draft. I don't know anybody in the linebacking group between Smith and Edmunds that makes a ton of sense for them. To me, the guy that makes the most sense for them is Derwin James. You get that alpha dog in the back end of that secondary. It seems to make a world of sense to me. He could be kind of their Jamal Adams for this year. Leaving the Colts with Roquan Smith, the 49ers taking Tremaine Edmunds, although I wonder if they would potentially consider taking a wide receiver there or an offensive tackle. There could be a surprise coming with the Niners at that 9th pick. The Raiders at 10 with Vita Vea. Rosen ends up going 11 to Miami. What a kick in the seat that would be for Miami to be able to sit there and get the quarterback that he reportedly liked the most and not have to move around and he just falls into their lap. But be careful for what you wish for because you just might get it. Leaving the Broncos at 12 with Denzel Ward. The Redskins at pick 13 getting Minkah Fitzpatrick. And then this is where we get really nuts. The freaking Patriots trading up from 23 and 31 to get to 14 to jump this contingent of teams like the Cardinals, like the Ravens, like the Chargers, where there might be some fear that any one of those three could potentially look at taking Lamar Jackson. There's this deep fascination to me with the New England Patriots taking Lamar Jackson. Now with Green Bay, when they look at the board and they see that Denzel Ward, Minkah Fitzpatrick have both gone off the board, there might not be a guy that they really feel is worth that pick in that slot, especially if a New England came calling and you have the chance to get 2 first-round picks. And frankly, if you're New England, if you value Lamar Jackson or another quarterback that much, what the hell do the 2 first-round picks do? You make sure you get that guy for the long term. That's all I got to say. Some of the big winners in this scenario would obviously be the Browns because of the types of picks and the players that they got. The Giants would be winners here, being able to get Barkley at 4, and then at 22, having somebody like Marcus Davenport potentially fall to them. That would feel pretty good, especially more so the manipulation of being able to get your guy Barkley at 4 instead of 2. Another big winner here would be the Indianapolis Colts. I wonder what Colts fans think about my scenario. You trade down again from 6 this time to 8. You end up with Roquan. Then you peel up big time to get a receiver like Calvin Ridley. And then you peel up again, which is the benefit of that deal you did with the Jets with all those second-round picks, and then trading down. Now you go back up there again and you go get Darius Guice. I'm sorry, but the Colts in a scenario like this, and I know it's not very realistic, and I know it's mostly fantasy, but aren't most all the mock drafts until the last one freaking fantasy anyways, playing out different scenarios? If you're a Colts fan, I'd be stunned if you weren't incredibly tickled about a Roquan Smith, Calvin Ridley, Darius Guice draft class, having 3 first-rounders, still having a pick left in round 2. I would imagine much splooge would be emanated from your crotch region come Thursday night. Just a guess, though. Just a guess. But anyways, I did all types of nuts things here in different scenarios and crazy trades by design. Because we don't know. Does most of this stuff happen? Hell no. Could one of these things happen? Perhaps, if not probably. But I'm at that point in time now where I've got a few days to figure out what I really think is ultimately going to happen. So why not play around and have some fun and see what we can come up with? And let's get nuts, like I did here. Let me know what you think of this mock draft.